أحب الله والإسلام والقرآن والجنة، أحب جحافل الإيمان ترفع راية السنة. أحب الله والإسلام والقرآن والجنة، أحب جحافل الإيمان ترفع راية السنة.
ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Knowledge in matters where you're dealing with Allah, علم معاملة العبد لربه, the knowledge in dealing with Allah are three types. المعاملة على 3 أقسام: اعتقاد وفعل وترك. اعتقاد وفعل وترك. Matters Allah commissioned that pertain to Him are either belief or action or leaving. Some things that you got to believe in, some things you got to act and do, some things you got to stay away and refrain from. Knowledge as it pertains to that, to your dealing with Allah, is either fard ayn, ilm ayni, or ilm kifai. Fard ayn, meaning knowledge as it pertains to your dealing with Allah in those kind of knowledges, اعتقاد وفعل ترك, is either fard ayn, which means it's a personal obligation. Fard ayn is a compulsory on every Muslim to perform or do. That's a definition of fard ayn. Fard ayn is an obligation that must be done by every single individual. Fard ayn is an obligation that must be done by every single individual. It's a personal obligation. Example is salah and siyam. Every single person must do it. Now the next one is fard kifaya, communal responsibilities. It is fard that if performed by some, if performed by a sufficient number of people, the obligation falls from the rest. The rest of the ummah are not obligated to do it. This is a requirement that the community as a collective must fulfill it and not the individual himself. It's not required on an individual basis, but at the community as a whole, the community of the Islamic Ummah as a whole. Example is, for example, is burying the dead. For another example is if we're 10 people here and we're at the shore of an ocean and someone's drowning and we're able to rescue him. If 2 people, we're all responsible to go rescue him. If 2 people go and rescue him, that's sufficient for us. If those 2 people are able, don't go, all 10 of us get sins. That's fard kifaya. It's not requested by Abdullah and Amr and Muhammad. It's the act itself that's requested. Unlike the first category, if a group makes salat al-asr, it doesn't relieve the rest from making salah. Every last Muslim got to make salat al-asr. In the communal obligation ordained, it's sufficient if a certain number of people do it. Then the rest will not be sinned if they don't do it. In the communal obligatory act, the act must be carried out and completed. If it's not carried out and completed, because one is not able to, we're not able to, let's say we're 10 at the shore of a water, we're not able to rescue that person because we don't know how to swim, he must or we must go and inform and encourage, not just swimming, not just rescuing that person who's drowning, any matter. We must inform, we must encourage others to eliminate the sin from falling on everyone. As to knowledge, fard ayn and fard kifaya as it relates to the knowledge pertaining to Allah. As to knowledge that is fard ayn, personal obligation, it's knowledge that your religion can't be completed and carried without it. That's the kind of knowledge that's fard ayn. knowledge that your religion can be completed and carried without. It could be in aqidah, it could be in actions, and it could be in sayings. Anything that makes essential matters of your deen, in your belief, in your actions, in your saying deficient, you must, as a compulsory fard ayn, know them. You must individually know it and seek it and learn it. Here, the conclusion, what the author mentions here, يجب علينا, you must, fard ayn, every individual must know, no exemptions, these matters. Every individual must know these matters as a fard ayn upon him. Note, there's some knowledge that varies. It varies in how it's obligatory or not towards Muslims. It's because individuals vary. There is a certain limit of knowledge that every last Muslim must have. That's the fard ayn. But there's matters that vary among Muslims. Some Muslims must know certain things, others must not. But there's a certain level that one must know. Ibn Abd al-Barr said in his book Jami' Bayan al-Ilm, and Ibn Qudama and other scholars spoke on this matter. Let me go into a little bit more detail so you'll understand it. The scholars said it's consensus that there are types of knowledge that are fard ayn and that there are types of knowledge that are fard kifaya. Ijma', there's two kinds. Not everything is fard ayn and not everything is fard kifaya. Among the knowledge that is considered fard ayn, again, fard ayn is the one that is a personal obligation every last Muslim must know. Fard ayn in action. Let's take some examples for fard ayn in action. Purification, wudu, tahara, salah, you must know that. If you live until Ramadan, you need to know about Ramadan, what invalidates, what you got to do from pre-dawn to sunset, matters of that, it's obligatory on you to know. A woman, not a man. A woman and not a man, it's fard ayn on them to know the rules that pertain to the menstrual cycle. Because her fasting and her salah, their acceptance is dependent on that. They have to know that. When they can make salah, when they can't, how they get purity, how it's fard ayn upon them to know, a fard ayn. A man does not need to know the rules of the menstrual cycle. However, if a man is the only path for his wife to learn, he must know because he is her guardian. See how it varies? He must learn it to teach her or take her to someone knowledgeable to teach her. You see how it varies here? A regular man doesn't need to know it. But if he has a wife and a daughter and a mother or a sister that he's responsible for, he's got to learn it to teach them. Fard ayn, it becomes fard ayn upon, or to take them to learn it, or allow them to go and learn it. If you have wealth, you need to know the rules and regulations of zakah. If you have no wealth, you don't need to know about zakah because you have no wealth. Yes, it's better, but we're talking here about what's fard ayn and what's not. If you are able to perform hajj, you need to know about hajj. If you're unable, you need to know the limit that I'm unable, I'm sick, or I don't have the wealth to do it, so I don't have to make hajj. Fard ayn in leaving matters. Let's take some examples on that. A blind man who doesn't see, he doesn't have to learn what's haram to look at because he can't see. He doesn't have to. A deaf who doesn't hear, he doesn't have to know what's haram to listen to. Unlike me and you, I and you have to learn what is haram to listen to because I can hear. It's fard ayn on all Muslims to know what is haram to listen to. It's fard ayn on every Muslim to know zina is haram. It's fard ayn on every Muslim to know riba is haram, and alcohol is haram, and swine is haram, the impurities, the impression is haram, the prohibition of incest or the killing of others. All that is fard ayn upon every, because they may fall in it. They have to know how to avoid it. Knowledge, that's fard ayn in belief. Let's take examples of that. The best example is what we're talking about here. These four matters. That matters are fard ayn upon every Muslim to know. One needs to know matters of his belief. Belief in Allah, belief in the angels, belief in the books, belief in the resurrection, in Jannah, Jahannam. You have to know that. One needs to learn that of Islam, which will remove any doubts if he has any doubts. Because part of believing in Islam is believing in Islam with no doubts. If you have doubts, you have a deficiency. So you have to learn of Islam to remove that doubt. If he's in a country that has widespread major bid'ah, he needs to learn them so he'll avoid them, so he won't fall in them. The amount of fard ayn as it pertains to knowledge is what one's belief or worship, acts or saying, will not be correct or in accordance except with it. If it's that, then you must learn it on an individual basis as a fard ayn.